All right. Jason, what's up?
What's up, dude?
Good to see you, man.
You too.
Again, we are back in Movember, for what, the fourth year now?
I think 4 years, man. It's like you were one of the early adopters, and
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. And just really grateful. And I think you're one of the people in my life that like we don't talk often, but
Yeah.
we don't have to.
No.
I think there's like a mutual appreciation, and I think I value what you represent. I think you value what I represent, so we can pick it up pretty quickly and
Yeah.
support each other and
They're the best relationships.
Yeah.
100%. Like, you got out of your truck today. It was just like
mutual respect.
yesterday when we saw each other. But yeah, I think I tell the story every year when we do this podcast. You sent me a random email that said you were going to do 30 gyms in 30 days. And I think my first reaction was I laughed. And I was like, all right, bud, let's do it.
Yep.
Come on in. And
Yep.
you did it.
Yep.
You did it.
It was hard.
It was a ride.
Very
and
hard.
To see the evolution of what you've been doing over the last 4 years or so has been absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll get into it, but with the combine and everything like that.
Yeah.
But for those of you that don't know, this is Jason. He does a big Movember campaign for men's mental health, and truly he does it all year long, right? And this is just really where that fundraising kind of culminates. It's almost like the Christmas of what you do, right?
That's a good way to say it.
And, all he does every single day, and if you follow him on social media, you know that he's advocating for men's mental health, which is such a big topic. And I told everybody here this morning at 8 a.m. coming to do Chad, we've made strides, a lot of strides in the last couple of years, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
100%. We still see it. We still see guys struggling in silence, and to know that it doesn't need to be that way, and to get good groups of guys around other guys that need it is so important.
Well, in the news this past week was the guy from the Dallas Cowboys who committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
He scored a touchdown, led his team to victory, and then 3 days later took his life. And probably no one knew that was happening.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to bring suffering out of the shadows and illuminate it and make people feel like they're not alone, I think is worth it.
Yeah.
And when I talk about men's health, it's not at the expense of women or others. It's just you can help a segment of the population be better, which then affects everyone else.
Right.
If I'm a healthier man, if I have more people in my corner that love me, I love myself more, I'm going to be a better worker, better husband, better brother, better son, better community member. So, for me, it's like it sends out ripples.
Yeah. I mean, dude, let's dive into that, because that's what we talked about. And, something that we didn't have last year is I'm a dad now.
Yep.
Right? So seeing that side of everything, and that is so true. And I've experienced it. I prepared myself for it. The more you take care of yourself, the more you're going to be able to give to everybody around you, and also allow them to have a really good experience, right? Like, my son has a dad, and I want to be that dad for him. I get to treat my wife the right way, and then that makes our relationship better. And I can come into this gym and I can coach people and make their days better, but that all starts with me and making sure that I'm doing what I need to do to take care of myself. And if that's seeking out other guys to, have a conversation with and work some stuff out, like, that's what needs to be done, because then I can give more of myself to other people, and man, it feels good when you get to that point.
Yeah, and I think your son is 4 months old, I think you said,
Yeah.
and my daughter's here, she's 10, and I have a 7-year-old. Right now, where you're parenting, if you say something or you make a decision or behave a certain way, like, it's important, but they're not really comprehending what you're doing. So right now, you still get to practice a little bit.
Yeah.
My kids, 10, 7, and, when they get older, and they're watching everything I do. So if I don't have my stuff in order, if I'm not, like, regulated, if I'm not thoughtful about the way I show up in spaces, that teaches them something.
Yeah.
You're at the stage where you're just trying to keep the child alive and flourishing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's more like Maslow's hierarchy, like safe, secure, fed, all those things. But eventually it's going to come a point where your kids you're teaching them everything you do is a lesson. So for me, it's been important, while my children were young, is I did a lot of this work so that when they're at the age where they're really watching and making sense of what you're doing, you want to be the healthiest you can be, because you're teaching them how to be healthy, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's an awareness that you develop that, I can never not be thoughtful about my kids and my relationship with them, because they're watching me all the time.
Yeah.
And we're human, so I make mistakes, but the intentionality is a lot more.
Yeah.
And as a leader of a gym, if you walk in here and you're not thoughtful about how you show up, things you say, things you do, you're going to be hypocritical.
Yeah.
And no one will take you seriously.
Yeah.
So the burden of leadership or parenting is like we have to like understand that everyone's watching us to model what it is we want the outcomes to be.
Yeah.
And that's a burden.
It's a burden. It's a very big responsibility. But, you know, the people that do choose to take on that responsibility, it's like, make sure that you're doing everything that you can, because there's people watching you all the time.
Yep.
And you could have an impact on that person's life and not even know it.
Yeah, and then, you know, obviously when we think about parenting, like we think of ourselves at the top and our kids are at the bottom and they do what we say, but like their behaviors impact us, right? Like how my child responds to me impacts me. So I oftentimes talk about my parenting with other dads.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm having a hard time getting through, or if I make a poor decision, or, you know, with my daughter being the oldest, if I don't know how to approach something, I got to get feedback. So I'll often throw something out to my men's friend group and just say, like, I'm dealing with this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Should I have my daughter in travel sports right now? She's 10. Like, I'm feeling pressure.
Yeah.
Should I be doing that? Am I a bad dad if I don't? You know, like there's getting feedback is really important.
Yeah. Why do you think guys shy away from doing that? Why do you think they are reluctant to ask those questions?
Lack of practice.
Yeah.
Fear of not having it all figured out.
Yeah.
I think we feel this implicit pressure to always have all the answers.
Yeah.
Even if we don't. But I think it's liberating when we can get to a space where we can be like, I really don't know what to do. Can you help me? Do you have any thoughts? Like, that's to not have to have it all figured out. It's like a pressure valve. You just take it and, like, you know, all the pressure comes out. So for me, like, humility and vulnerability, like, help me feel like I don't have to do it all. But it's hard to get there.
Yeah.
You know, people don't have practice in that.
Yeah. I think that's so true, because you have the stigma of what guys think they need to be, right? And then they wear that weight vest all day long. And there's something that I did, honestly, like in the last 4 weeks. I deleted social media. So, like, I'll download it to post for the gym, but then I'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because what I found was subconsciously, even when I didn't even know it, that comparison game was happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, look at what that guy's doing, right? How come I'm not doing that?
Right.
And honestly, like, there was a little bit of like, probably like 3 or 4 days. I guess when you're kicking, like any addiction, right? There's usually a 3-day hump.
Yep.
After 3 days, my life and my mind became so much more peaceful. And I to the point where I was driving down the highway and I was like, wow, I'm like here. Like,
centered.
I'm present.
Yeah.
I'm centered.
Yep.
And it was like the most mind-boggling thing. But I think that is something that we struggle with a lot, especially in this day and age where social media can be used for so much good. It's like the message that you have on there, and, you know, so many other people are putting out really good stuff. But at the same time, you still catch yourself in that scroll, because that's what it's there for. And then all of a sudden, you subconsciously start seeing the other things, and then you start telling yourself these stories that's not there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's even more important to just get a group of guys that keep you grounded.
Yeah. And to me, it's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Just like lots of stimulus, lots of noise, and like it just becomes a lot. So can you simplify? I think about like chunks of my day. Like, you know, for me on Saturdays, the 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. is breakfast and workout.
Yeah.
That's my focus. I'm not letting anything else in. And I have the luxury of having a partner that allows me to do that. But, you know, if I try to do 14 different things between a 3-hour chunk, then I'm not doing anything well. So, you know, for me, chunking my day is like been an approach that's helped, but I can see how taking social media out of the equation would be like it's getting rid of a low level hum that's always there.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Who's doing something that I'm not aware of?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's almost like the teenager that still exists in us, you know, FOMO.
100%. 100%. And that blocking thing, that's helped me too, because I struggled with that when the baby first came. The way that we split it up is Courtney is more, she can stay up later. I'm up earlier in the morning.
Yep.
So she would take that feeding, then I would wake up early and I would take the baby. And my brain in the beginning wanted to work, because that's what it's done for so long, right? So I'd be feeding the baby and I would be on my phone thinking about work. And then over the couple weeks, as I started to like really dig into that stuff, I was like, hold up. I don't need to be doing anything else other than being right here with my son and feeding him and playing with him and getting that smile that he has on his face. And then when the time comes, right, and I get that time to put towards work, I can do it then.
Yeah.
But being okay with that was hard in
Yeah.
the beginning. And
Yep.
it took a while to be okay with that. And sometimes I'll still catch myself in it. So, like, it's a never-ending battle.
Yeah.
But it's something that was real, and I didn't even recognize it until I was in the moment.
Yeah. How are you feeling as a new parent with, like, stress? Like, you feel like it's adding stress, takes away stress, helps you keep perspective? Like, how's that working for you?
I think now at this moment, a lot of perspective. The stress is still there. I think biological, when you hear your kid cry, like, it does something to you. But other than that, more so perspective. But I would say probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago, like, I felt the stress. I felt like everything was coming at once. I had to be the good dad. I had to support Courtney. I had to keep the business running. I had to make sure that, everybody that's working here is making what they need to do to have a good life, and then pushing everything else forward. And honestly, like, I got to a point where I was like, I can't do it all.
Yeah.
I can't. And, like, I had to admit that to myself, and I had to be okay with that. And then once I just gave into that, everything has been better ever since, because then I could start to chart that new territory.
Like,
But it was real.
You can't ignore it either.
No.
You can't, like, stuff it down. You have to, like, okay, it's here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling these things. Now what? What can I take off my plate? What can I kind of maybe accept a little bit of a lower standard? Because I can't do it all.
Yeah.
But I think we get in trouble as men. Like, we just try to keep grinding and moving forward. Stay the course. Just keep going.
Yep.
And then eventually we just run out of steam, or something blows up, and we just kind of overflow. But I'm glad you had that moment. And then, were you able to talk about it with anyone? Like, how did you approach that?
I brought it up with my wife.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm super thankful that I can talk to her about anything. It might take a little while, right? She'll pry at it. She'll wait for me to be ready to talk about it. But eventually I got to talk to her, and then, some other people in my life that I shared it with.
Yeah.
But, man, because, like, I was always one that would say, I'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in hard workouts. I've done hard things. And it's like, wow, this is just another hard thing. But when you get to that mental capacity, like, understanding that you're not superhuman, you're just human, right? And your goal is to be the best human that you can be, not something that is unattainable.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be willing to let go so that you can be that best version of yourself for everybody else. And those 1 to 2 weeks, like, it affected our relationship. It affected who I was when I was sitting with my son. Like, was I present there? And then as soon as I started to change or pivot from that direction, it was like, okay, like, everything is getting so much better.
Yeah.
Communication is better. I'm enjoying these moments.
Yep.
Just being okay with stuff not being up to a unattainable standard.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned the word perspective. Like, I think that's something that's real for new parents, is like, your pyramid of priorities is kind of scripted until you have children. It might change a little bit when you get married, if you end up married, but it's like work typically for men is like the top.
Yeah.
And then, like, health is not in our communities, but, like, most men, it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
And social friendships with other men is typically at the bottom. But when you have children, you start to look at that pyramid and you're like, wait a minute, is this pyramid serving me? Does it make sense anymore? Like, is work really that important if I'm staring at the face of, like, a little baby that depends on me? Like, not really.
Yeah.
So I think it's like an awakening that happens. That's really powerful. And I think that critical look at our time and our priorities is something that's really important throughout our life, right? It's not just when you become a new parent. So for me, it's like that reprioritization is something that we should always be doing.
Yeah.
But parenting definitely helps.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do guys associate their self-worth with
Salary.
their career and their salary? And, if they're a business owner, how big and strong.
Their title.
Yeah. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, take a step back. I had this realization. I got home one day and I did have a shitty day, right? And I still walked in. My dog still wagged his tail. My wife still said, hey, what's for dinner? And my son still smiled.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what?
Their love doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere.
No.
And it's like, if I'm going to put a goal that's associated with my self-worth, it's to be the best person that I can be in this situation.
Yeah.
And whatever else happens, happens. I mean, the best thing that you can do is just do your best.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing more to it than that.
Yeah. Can we chat a little bit about the Movember campaign this year?
We sure
Is that
can.
cool?
Yeah.
All right. So this year's goal is, raising funds and awareness. The theme this year is called Behind the Smile. So I had an idea. I do this men's workout called the Combine for the local community every third Sunday. Men come, and I had this idea of like we have a professional photographer in our community. So I asked him to bring his camera, and like when you have this idea, you never know how it's going to turn out. So I had him bring his camera, and we had a black backdrop, and I wanted to take a close-up picture of men with no filter directly after we finish a workout. So I wanted them sweaty, I wanted them out of breath, I wanted their hair all messed up, and I wanted it close. And I was like, I don't know if these pictures are going to turn out. Let's just do it. And then I was like, I think I want them to reflect eventually on like during the month of Movember, and I'll highlight a different guy each day. What's behind your smile? You know, what's behind the facade that we all present to the world that we either don't know about you or that you struggle with or that you're challenged by, and let's just see what happens. So the pictures are amazing. They're really like powerful. I don't know if you've seen a few.
Yeah.
They're like the kind of pictures that like you would give to your grandchildren someday and be like, look at dad when he was, or granddad when he was, 35, 45. They're powerful. They're wrinkles. Like it's just a real person. There's no filters. And then I started doing the reflections, and I did the first one. I always want to model it. So I wrote my reflection about things I struggle with behind my smile. And then I started posting them. And I would post at 6 a.m. and step back. And then throughout the day, I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, holy shit. Like people are giving a lot of love to these guys. And like comments like, you're my hero. You're the best. Like. And I think what it shows is that we can be valued and loved just for being human, and like people don't need heroic stories to be inspired. They need to know that we're imperfect and that's okay. Like, can strong people still show up flawed and imperfect as themselves and be vulnerable and authentic? And it's been awesome to see this. The second thing that's happened, which I did not anticipate, I guess maybe I did a little bit, is that some of the guys want to do it and they're committed to doing it, but they have yet to send me their reflection. And I think it's less of a, like, they're lazy or they're not, like, helping me out. It's more of, like, they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a practice that men are good at. Like, geez, what do I struggle with? Like, I don't want to think about that.
It's like when you go into an interview, it's like, what's your weaknesses?
Yeah.
Like, no guy knows how to
And
answer
also, Larocque is going to go post this to the world, and, like, it's going to be out there, and, like, so I think some of the guys are, like, having challenges with it, and I think that's the point. Like, can we normalize this thing that's super challenging of being vulnerable, being authentic to the world, and still knowing that we're loved? So it's been powerful, and it's been a good experience, and I hope that the people that have been doing it with me really value the experience. I've gotten some good feedback from the guys and saying, like, thank you for allowing me to do this. I'm all in. So that's been a cool thing. So I think I'm coming on the 22nd to do the workout with you. I'm going to bring some of these photos just to show people, and I'll talk about it. But again, it's like allowing men to show up in spaces and just being like, here I am, flawed, imperfect, like every one of you. Can you still love me? And then can I still love myself? Like that's what we need to do, right? Is like, maybe I lose my job. Maybe I go through a divorce. Maybe I get sick. Maybe I get fired. When the world comes down on us, can we still love ourselves and feel worthy? That's the ultimate test.
It's
right?
powerful, dude.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
So that's what we've been focusing on. It's been cool. I have not been out in gyms like I usually do, but I'm also getting a little bit older, so like I can do a lot of this stuff from my couch. But it's still raising awareness, and I think it's adding some benefit out into the world.
Yeah, I mean, look at where it started, right? You went to 30 gyms in 30 days, and now 4 years in?
Yeah.
4 years in, you're able to reach all of these people and all of these people's families, right? With just this spur of the moment idea that you had that you weren't sure how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, that idea that's given to you, right? Like, look at what it blossomed into and the impact that you're creating without having to do something like you did in year one, but just to see the progress year after year after year and see the impact continuing to grow.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I would love to. My goal is $15,000. I have no idea if I get there, but if I can change a few dozen people's thinking about how to show up in the world, or give them a little bit of a contagious moment of vulnerability that they're like, oh, that's not so bad, I'll do that again. Then like it's completely worth it.
Yeah.
You know, because they're going to be healthier. They're going to be more forgiving of themselves. Maybe they will have less of a hard time. But I think, you know, all those things are really important. And for me, it's less about the dollar amount raised and more about, can I change behaviors for men and boys that allow them to be healthier?
Yeah. I mean, plant the seed in somebody that, you know, maybe they followed you for a couple of years and you haven't interacted with them. Maybe you haven't talked to them in a while, but they see one thing that they can relate to and it opens that up. Like, that's worth the whole campaign there.
And I think there's women too, like that follow me, and like the wives or the partners of the men that I'm featuring, or the men that I hang out with, and they're like, they're also the ones like, keep going, because I know this will benefit him. He doesn't want to do it, but I know it will help him. Yeah. So I get a lot of validation and affirmation from the women in the men's lives too, and it's been cool too. Some of the men I've featured, their moms have been chiming in like, I love this guy, you know, and so it's kind of nice when these guys get validation.
How do you think that like those wives and those mothers that are seeing that, like also on the other end of the spectrum, have been waiting for something like this to get sparked in their husband for a while? And it's like,
I think so.
Oh God. And it's like, I don't know how to address this. I don't really know what's wrong. I don't want to overstep or say the wrong thing, but like that light is coming back. Yeah. And that's really cool.
I think so. I think, you know, most men, when they feel stressed, what do? They go internal. They don't let people in. Yeah. I would imagine in most, you know, relationships, when the man goes internal, the partner, the wife, the girlfriend, they're the victim. Like they don't have access. Like, let me into your emotional life. Let me know what's happening. And I think what we're shooting for is like emotional literacy, like the ability to sit down with your partner and say, I haven't been myself. I know this. You know this, and here's why. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. How can I help? Yeah. Versus like, you know, they're butting heads because no one's communicating. Yeah. The guy doesn't have the vocabulary or the courage to say like, I'm really struggling and here's why. So, you know, I think it will make relationships better. It will make marriages better. It allows the guy to not have to have it all together all the time.
Yeah. I feel like everybody thinks that we communicate in the same language emotionally. And when you realize that realistically out of the gate, you and your significant other are probably speaking the equivalent to English and Spanish without knowing the other language. And just to understand how emotions are processed and how to best help the person that's in front of you. Because our natural reaction is to help the way that we want to be helped, right? And maybe that's not the case. Maybe they need something different. Yeah. And then when you can find that literacy and you can communicate on the same wavelength emotionally, that's when you start to bring those pieces out.
Well, the other thing that I think is important for men is like men are really good at giving feedback and like telling people what they're doing wrong.
Yeah, we want to fix problems.
Fix the problem. Hey, you know, do this. You're not doing this well enough. But a lot of them can't then open up their own heart to like tell me what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. You know, like that's really not in their wheelhouse. So I think the best thing you can do as a man in a relationship is be vulnerable, but also then say to the partner like, hey, I'm struggling. I'm having a hard time. Can you give me some feedback when you notice I'm going down this road, because it's important to me, and allow them to give you the feedback without jumping down their throat. Yeah. You know, if my wife says to me, hey, you've been really quiet and you don't seem like you're communicating, I'm bringing this to your attention, like you seem a little frustrated or challenged, I want to be able to say like, thank you. Yeah. Because I'm not noticing that. Yeah. Like, you know, you're right. I'm having a hard time. Yeah. You know, I'll let you in.
That takes work. Yeah. Right. You get someone that's a rookie at that. Like your immediate reaction is to react to it. And it's like when you can see that when it's said to you, process it in real time and be like, okay, this isn't an attack on me. This isn't an attack on who I am or my self-worth or anything. But thank you. Because now this is an opportunity to change what I've been doing, or just look deeper and try to figure out why I've been the way I am, or if I didn't even recognize I was being that way. Yeah. Like, I think that is a level that, man, I wish a lot of men could get to.
Yeah. One of the most profound exercises I've ever done, and I don't remember where I got this idea, but about 5 years ago, in like May, I'm a school educator, so my year is more of like the school year versus the calendar year. So at the end of May, which is like the end of my year, I sent an email out to about 5 to 10 people that were not my family members, not my wife or partner, not my boss, but like people that know me well, but they weren't like really tied to me. And I gave them like 5 to 10 questions like, what's something I do that confuses you? Or where do you see me at my best and what does that look like? And what do you see when I'm at my worst? What does that look like?
Wow.
And I got all these emails back with like all these, and I said like, please just be honest. Like I want honesty, you know, I want to think about this. So I spent the entire summer, 3 months, looking at these emails that were like, you know, 1 to 2 pages long and just like looking at the data and saying, I was looking at myself with like these fresh eyes and I'm like, wow, I didn't know this.
Wow.
Like I'll give you an example. One friend said to me, male friend who I think you've worked out with before, Scott, he said to me, he said, when you text me and you say, what's up? Like, what do you actually want? And I was like, I don't know, I just want to know what's up. He's like, well, do you really want to know what's up? Or do you just want to like have that touch point? Because if you really want to know what's up, show up on my doorstep and ask me.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. Like, thank you for the honesty. You know, I thought I was being a good friend giving you the 30-second check-in. And he's like, no, like that's not, we're not actually doing anything right there. You're just taking attendance.
Yeah. Wow.
He's like, if you want to know what I'm thinking about doing, show up on my doorstep and let's do it. And so I was like, wow. And so I've stopped doing that. And we had this after that moment, and I thanked him for that. It wasn't easy getting called out, but I said to him, I said, let's come up with a code word that we can like use where we expect that of each other moving forward. So we came up with show up, and this idea of showing up for each other. If you want to hang out with me, drive the 35 minutes to show up on my doorstep. Drive to the workout. Drive to the beach. Drive here. But we're not going to do like the shallow check-ins over text. Like, this just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we've taken that and we've shown up at like the good things that happen in our lives. We've shown up at the bad things. He showed up on my 40th birthday. I went to the CrossFit Games, and he showed up out of nowhere to surprise me and be there. And like, that's showing up.
Yeah.
He didn't text me and say, happy birthday, bro. Like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
He like drove or like flew to where the games were, showed up to celebrate with me. And I was like, that's what friendship really is.
Wow.
And that came out of that exercise of asking those 5 to 10 questions and then being okay with the feedback where people were giving me feedback about things that confuse them, don't make sense, that I'm when I'm at my worst, what does it look like? What do I need to do more? And that was not easy to go through.
Yeah.
But I think getting that honest feedback, reflecting on it, and then changing it was like really an important thing.
Yeah. I mean, good on you, man. We just had the conversation before we started this, getting real and honest feedback. It's a skill to be able to do that.
Yep.
And it's not even CrossFit coaching. Like, you're talking about who you are genuinely as a person.
Yeah, I think
that's powerful.
You can kind of rotate through different groups. Like maybe you ask a few of your friends these questions, and then maybe the next time you do it, you ask your partner. Then maybe you ask some people in your family, and then maybe you ask your staff. You know, because these people all depend on us.
Yeah.
And if we don't know what they're thinking about us, then we don't have access to real information. So like, I can't change my behaviors because no one's ever told me.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got to take an honest look in the mirror sometimes and change who we are to better meet the needs of the people that depend on us.
That's awesome, man.
But
wow.
Anything else going on?
Not much. Just being a dad.
Yeah.
Doing the things.
Cool.
Trying to be better every day.
Cool.
I know you had the combine thing going on. I mean, tell the people a little bit about that.
Yeah. So you and I started this idea of men's workout groups a while back, and we've had difficulty like timing it or like getting people to show up, but we were committed to it. I've come here a couple times to try to do it, and it just never really clicked. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to try to dedicate some time and energy to this. So I started doing this every third Sunday at my gym in Beverly. Mm-hmm. We've had as many as 30 people show up. And the idea is that you bring someone new to the next workout. So if you come, you like it, you bring someone new to the workout. And these are not super complex workouts. They're not really barbell based, not a ton of gymnastics.
Just get guys
body
together.
weight, machines, just get people moving. And then we teach them a little bit about mobility. We teach them a little bit about like how to develop fitness as a practice. And the idea is to get like the person that was an athlete in high school, like hasn't really done anything athletic in a while. They're grinding it out in the office. Just come spend an hour with us and see.
Yeah.
And then maybe they get hooked.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing is that we've probably get about 5 to 7 people joining our gym out of this.
Wow.
So, you give them a good experience, you hook them, they feel like the connection, they enjoy it, and then they're like, all right, I'm gonna commit to this.
Yeah.
And like, what a better gift than to try to get someone hooked on something that will make their life immensely better. So that's been good. We've had 7 sessions, and I'd say over 100 guys have come through.
That's awesome.
My goal is to crack the 50-person attendance barrier. I'm going to throw a party if we get there. So yeah, that's in Beverly. It's every third Sunday. Any guy, any experience, any fitness level can come. There's no charge. Just sign a waiver and have some fun, play some music, build some relationships, and go from there.
That's awesome. I have to make it to one.
Yeah, we'll have you down. Maybe bring some of the coaches or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's awesome too. And it's like people overcomplicate things. It's like do something that's going to potentially help somebody else's life.
Yep.
And look what happens.
Yeah, it's how I fell into CrossFit. Was a teammate, the same one I was talking about, who told me to show up. He did show up. He called me out of the blue, and I was 300 pounds at the time, out of shape, not really doing well. And he said, "I've found this thing called CrossFit. I think you'd be really good at it. Would you do it with me?" And like, I went through all the excuses. I don't want to get hurt. I'm out of shape, blah, blah, blah. He said, "Okay, well, I'm here. If you want to do it, I will drive to you, and I'll do it with you." So finally, I relented, and I was like, yes. He would drive from Portsmouth, New Hampshire to Beverly, Mass, an hour each way, 5 a.m. class. So he's leaving his house at 4 a.m. to come work out with me, to get me into the lifestyle. Once we did it for a couple months, I was hooked. We went shopping around at gyms, and he got me hooked. And then once he knew I was hooked, he stepped away, and he said, "You're in.
Yep.
Now let's do it like once a month here and there."
That's awesome.
But he changed my life just by saying, "You need this. You'd be good at this. Why don't we try it together? And then once you're hooked, I'll step out." But we should be doing that for everyone.
Yeah.
Like call people in who are struggling. Call people in who have lost their athleticism, their health. They're not prioritizing their health. Bring them in.
Yeah.
As you know, the first roadblock is like just getting in the door.
Yeah.
Once they show up,
yep,
they're going to have fun.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be hooked. It's just getting them in the door.
Yeah.
And unfortunately with CrossFit, there's a lot of like misinformation, and people's perceptions are not accurate, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the men's group workouts have been good, is because it's just getting them in the gym. And then once they see it, they like it, and they'll come back.
Yeah. And I would like to challenge everybody that listens to this podcast. I think that we are, in this day and age, reluctant to say some things like that, or, reach out to help somebody. But I don't think that there is a greater act of love for somebody that you care about than to reach your hand out and just say, "Hey, come with me."
Accountability is love.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel great sometimes.
Yeah.
But to call someone out of the blue and say, "Last time I saw you, you didn't look good.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in joining me a couple times a week to do this thing? I think it would really benefit you." They may say no at first. They may come around, but that's an act of love.
I think we're more worried about the reaction that we think they might have that haven't happened yet, rather than thinking about into the future, how many years later your life is completely changed.
I can't tell you how many guys I've invited to do things with me over the years, and they say no consistently because they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to try working out. They're afraid of commitment. But I keep trying. Like, I don't stop doing it.
Yeah.
Because I might land, my success rate might be 2 out of 10, but those 2 are still doing it. Like, I'm bringing people in. So I've gotten better at, like, people saying no, I guess.
Hey, it's part of it.
Yeah.
If I stopped when I heard the first no in here,
that's right.
We wouldn't have what we have
today. That's right. So the details on the workout is the 22nd?
Yes.
Right? What time are we doing
22nd. It's a Saturday morning, our normal Saturday classes, so big community day. Yep. First class is at 8:30 a.m. Second class is at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Bring whoever. How I always run these things is, it's got more meaning behind it. It's not about what you do, but it's about who you do it with and why you're doing it.
Yep.
So, if anybody wants to do it and you have a friend that you think would benefit from it, like, you don't even have to ask me. You don't have to ask me how to do a drop-in or anything like that. Like, I'll have a waiver ready. Just bring them in the door.
Cool.
And let's get after it.
I'll try to bring a few of my crew up here too. And then I typically just give an opening, like with the why behind the workout, and then we'll do the workout, and then I'll say hello to the next class that comes in, and we'll just try to have some fun. And Obviously, like, anybody who can donate would be great, but
Yep.
it's more about like building awareness and taking that awareness back to your communities.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Heck yeah. I can't wait, man. Well, another year in the books. I appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast.
Absolutely.
And we'll put this thing out, and hopefully it impacts somebody to the point where maybe they reach out to somebody that they didn't think to reach out to, or they've been reluctant to reach out to, or maybe it's that message that someone needs to hear to just change, small pivot in their life and start to go in a different
You got to
direction.
show up for others. You got to show up for yourselves, and be fully imperfect, and show up in the world. And people generally, what I've learned through this experience of Behind the Smile, is that people don't need us to be perfect. They need us to be real. Mm-hmm. Real is best.
Yes.
And it saves a lot of pain if I can be real and you and know that you still love me. You can be real and I'll still love you. Then it takes the pressure off, and people can just maybe focus more on being present, as we started with, being present, taking the phone, putting it away, and just focus on relationships. And I think, we'll all be a lot healthier in the long run.
Heck yeah, man. Let's end it on that one.
All right, dude.
All right. If you guys want to follow Jason, I will put in all of his Instagram stuff in this whole episode. Give him a follow. There's so much amazing stuff. And stay tuned. Come on the 22nd, and you're going to see us do this podcast every year from here on out.
Cool. All right,
brother.
thank you.